Hello, it's Julie from Do Business Like a Woman. And today I'm talking about mindset and confidence. So, the mindset and confidence that you need to cultivate in your business specifically. And so, I use the word cultivate very intentionally because mindset, the most effective mindset that you can cultivate, isn't something that just happens. It's something that you consciously create, and I'm going to talk about that today. I once heard an expression that your mind is like a garden, and if you don't protect your garden and look after it and plant flowers in there, which in this case are your thoughts, then it will get filled with weeds, which are all the thoughts and beliefs that you don't want, which can make up an unhelpful mindset. So that is quite a nice metaphor for your mind and how you need to protect it when you are considering your business and the sort of mindset that you need to have in order to create the results that you're looking for in your business. Because everything starts with what's going on in here, right? Your business wouldn't come into creation if it wasn't for what was going on in your mind first. You create it in your mind first, then you create it here on the physical plane in reality. So I'm going to talk about mindset. I'm going to talk about developing confidence in yourself and your skills, even when you're brand new and you don't necessarily have confidence and you're not feeling confident. I'm going to talk about how to deal with that and how to actually develop that confidence. That is what we're covering today. So your mindset needs to be, it's happening. Whatever your dream is, your mindset has to be, it's happening. And that's it. There's nothing else. That's it. In your mind, there is no doubt this thing is happening. Now, the bind that we get into, and certainly I used to get myself into previously, was that we want to then control the timing and we want to push and have it happen like yesterday, right? And that kind of pushing energy can trip you up. So it's a really interesting balance because the mindset has to be, it's happening. You know, you can picture it in your mind. There's no doubt this thing's happening. It's just now for the material world that we live in to actually catch up with a vision. However, sorry, I got an itchy back today. However, that is balanced with a need to then let go of the timing and to kind of, it's a bit of a weird paradox because yes, you have to have that knowing inside of you. And for me, it's like a sinking in. It's a feeling. It's really hard to explain, but it's almost like, you know, when you know something in your gut. And for me, it's almost, I call it steel in my belly, but that's not really the right kind of picture that it paints in the mind. But it just feels like a real kind of knowing inside of me that this is happening. This is my mission. This is how it's going to be. And then, though, the trick comes with letting go of making it happen now, right? You whenever you hear anything about manifesting, you always hear about letting go, and that step is so often missed. It certainly was for me in my previous iteration of my business when I first launched as a coach all those years ago. And I was pushing so hard. I mean, I was doing all this mindset work. I was doing affirmations. I was dancing around the room every morning with this music about like being a magnet for money. And that was a fun song, by the way. And all this stuff. But I was pushing so hard, and there was like just a real pushing and a real like trying energy. And the trouble is though that trying, that pushing energy, it's almost like resistance. It's almost like keeping away the very thing that you are looking to invite in to your life and your business. It's like trying too hard, you know. I mean, we can see this in dating. We know that if we like try too hard and we're too enthusiastic, we can kind of push other people away, right? So it's almost like being a little bit cool with your business, right? But knowing inside that, yeah, it's happening, you've got the goods, right? but yeah, otherwise it sets up this kind of pushing out energy, and it almost keeps the very stuff away that you want. And so in my first iteration of my business, when I was doing all this stuff, I did have some success and I had some clients and there were some results. But oh my God, was it hard? It was like pushing a boulder up a hill all the time, all the time. And I had to be on such a high level of energy to keep that vibration up. And also I can remember I used to go like a roller coaster with extremes. I would have that high energy and that belief and yeah, it's happening and rah, 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 and like up, and then I would sink into fear and panic, and I would think the money wasn't coming, and it was just so hard, and it was like working against myself, so it wasn't in flow. So that's where this time things are so different, and it feels different. It feels calmer. It's like that inner knowing that yes, this is going to happen. And the question just is when, and it can happen sooner rather than later. And there are some things you can actually do, some actions you can take. But it's that inner knowing, and then it's that confidence to just let go a little bit and trust and develop that trust. And also not put yourself in a position where like you've put all your eggs in one basket and you've like leapt and the net is supposed to appear, because that's an awful lot of pressure. And the net doesn't always appear in my experience. So, yes, go for it. Definitely go for it. Know in your mind, and then also take action, because you can't just sit there and like on the sofa and manifest things, right? We live in a practical universe. We live in a material existence. We have to take some action too. However, it's just letting go of that kind of pushing and struggling, and just trusting and not letting your life fall to ruin in the meantime. Because, that was another mistake I made previously, was I just put everything into one basket, and then I didn't have any money coming in when I didn't get a client, and I didn't have my finances handled another way. And it's not a good position to put yourself in. It just puts a whole lot of pressure, and then that causes that pushing energy again, and it just is a whole cycle. So far better to know clearly inside that it's happening, have your clear vision inside of you, see that in your mind's eye, feel how that feels, feel the feelings of it. It's happening now. That's how it's got to feel, that it's happening now, even though we can't see it in the material world around us. If you know anything about how reality works and how manifesting works, you know that we don't see it in the world first. It starts inside of us, then it manifests in the world, and especially and when it's divinely guided, right? When it's in alignment and not just a like crazy out there full-on sort of selfish desire. So it's that letting go and that trusting that it will happen. Now there's a whole nother level to this that I have been experiencing recently, and it's around acceptance of the now and what's actually happening now. And this was the missing piece for me. This has been so profound for me recently. Oh yeah, and I've got on my notes here that it is happening regardless of appearances. That's really important, because so often our material reality, we're like, oh, well, I haven't got enough money, or I don't know, the clients aren't coming, or whatever it is. And that really, like, it's really convincing reality as it is, right? But that's not it. That's not where you're headed. And that's not what's going on. It's just that the material plane takes a little bit of time to catch up with the vision sometimes. Right? And it's your job to hold that vision inside no matter what. Back to my profound realization. It's about being in the here and now and accepting what is. Okay, so I've been listening to some Eckhart Tolle again recently. I'm really enjoying his stuff. I read his book years ago. I wasn't really ready for it and it didn't land. The book is The Power of Now. But I've been back into his stuff again recently, and also Byron Katie. I love her stuff. Loving What Is one of her main books. And they teach acceptance of the now and acceptance of reality. And so for me, this was big, because I would always be way off in the future, like planning and big goals and this and that. But I had a real like resistance and rejection for what was happening right now. It was what was happening now was never good enough for me, right? So it was like a rejection of the now. Well, the truth is we're only ever in the now. It's never tomorrow. We're never in the future. We're never in the past. We are only ever in the now. And that is where our power lies, to respond to what is in front of us. And what I've been understanding and getting and realizing is that I can accept now, right now, and it feels great. There's so much good stuff now. And as I've accepted it, guess what? All the other stuff just flows in. It just flows in, and I don't even have to do anything. And I'm not saying I'm perfect with this. I go in and out, and I still have kind of pissy days where I'm like, oh, nothing's working or whatever, but they are less regular. And I can be so much more present and embodied with the now. This was a big thing. I've been reading another book. I can't quite remember what it's called right now, but it's about practicing embodiment, being present, coming down out of our heads, which Western society, we're so in our heads, trapped there, and we see ourselves as separate from everything else, and we are not separate. We are part of this universe. And sinking into our bodies and our feelings and being present and embodied now, feeling that space inside of us and just accepting what is. So this has been powerful for me. And as I've done this, the other stuff has just flowed in. When the money has been needed, the money's been there. The clients have been coming, the better clients to work with, everything is flowing. And so that is the difference I wanted to highlight between before, when I was pushing so hard, and now when I'm accepting what is and loving what is, like seeing the blessings. Yes, I do have so many good things, and listing them, and that gratitude, and then the other stuff flows in. And this is not about kidding ourselves, right? I know that things are not perfect in my life and they're not perfect in your life, but it's about having a level of acceptance of that, as accepting as you can be, because the truth is it is what is, whether you like it or not. So if we can fully embrace that for what it is, and just because maybe you haven't got your first client yet, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong or that you're a bad person or any of that meaning that we associate. It's just what is, but it's not going to be that way forever. But you can embrace it and accept it. And so that piece was huge for me. And then along with that was the realization, and I've known this for a while, and you probably do too, but the realization that on the deepest level, we are all one. Now, what I mean by this is, here's a metaphor. If you picture the sea, the big old sea, and then you picture individual waves on the sea. So we are like those individual waves, right? Of course we're individual. Of course we have our egos and our personalities, and with different expressions of God or source or whatever. But we are all the sea, right? We're all made of this one stuff. And so we're like individual waves, right? That's cool. And our lifetimes are like the lifetime of a wave. But underneath, at the deepest level, we are all made of the same stuff. And this is so exciting, because what it means is that whole thing, thoughts become things. It's all true. We can affect our reality. We can affect things. And we have this power, but it's important to really use it very carefully, make sure that what you're manifesting and what you're doing is for the best of the world, and it is divinely aligned. And it's not just you with like, oh, I want to make more money and more money and more money, and I want to like get the whatever those desires are that are perhaps not aligned for you. And only it might be that for you making a certain amount of money is aligned. I'm not judging anyone's desires, but this was exciting for me, because just knowing that we're all one, we're all connected, we're all made of the same source. So of course we can affect that. Once we get into that feeling of our true mission, our life purpose, our desire, the thing that we are creating, and we have those thoughts, we have that vision, we have the feeling of it. And the vibration of it, ultimately, we are the vibration of it. And then that ripples out through the source into the energy field, however you want to call it. and things start to come in. So that's like the woo-woo side of it, which for me is a massive part of it because it's the nature of reality. I know Abraham Hicks, Esther Abraham Hicks, they talk about the vortex. Now, I don't want to say anything about that particular teacher, like whether they're good or bad or whatever, but I just am aware that they refer to this kind of state of being, this vibration, thought, feeling as being in the vortex. So just different strokes for different folks. One thing I will say here, impatience is the killer. So this comes back to accepting the now and accepting what is, and allowing trust that it will happen in its divine time, in the time that it's supposed to. But you still need to take action. So this is back to, we're not going to sit on the sofa and just try and manifest. You need to then take action on that, the thoughts and the feelings. And yesterday I did a video about getting out of overwhelm, and I listed some key strategies and actions for, making that strategic plan and the actions that you need to take. So the two go together, but one without the other. If you just take the action without the mindset, you'll be a lot like I was in the beginning, where you're just pushing, and it's really hard work and it's not flowing. And if you do the mindset without the action, well, that is not going to be effective either. And you'll just be sitting there having all these lovely thoughts and feeling great, but probably no results, or maybe some results, but you need both. So just to put this all into an example, if you are still waiting to get your first client, as I know some people in our community are, that can feel very frustrating. And on the material plane, it's like, it's not happening. Why isn't this working? Like, God, what's going on? And it just, reality is right there. It's not happening. You haven't got your first client yet. However, the new reality, which is starting inside of you and therefore has to manifest by law, the new reality is you have got your first client. You are getting your clients. And you need to come to a place inside of you where that's true and you believe that. And I know it's hard at first, so don't beat yourself up if you go in and out a little bit. It's fine, it will happen. But you need to cultivate that place inside of you where that is happening. And it's like, all right, if it takes me 50 years, and it won't, by the way, but this is what I do. If it takes 50 years, I don't mind. It's happening. That's the point. It's happening. And then just allowing the material plane to catch up, combining that with taking those actions, and you're onto a winner. So that is the mindset piece. If you have questions or concerns, or you really struggle with this, like, post in the comments underneath and we'll have a discussion about it. I would love to help you. I'd love to support you, because I remember how much I struggled with this whole mindset piece for like the first 3 years of my original business. And it was like one of the hardest pieces for me. It was so tough. So yeah, happy to talk more about that. Let's move on to confidence. Confidence comes through doing. So again, a bit of a paradox, because you will get confident working with clients when you work with your first client. But if you haven't got your first client, how can you feel confident, right? So how can you be confident before the thing actually happens? Well, maybe you can't, but you can behave confidently. You can behave confidently. And so, this might look like still reaching out to that potential client, still following up with that person who made an inquiry, being able to hear no, even when it's difficult, and still keeping going. Those are all examples of behaving confidently. And another thing that I always encourage is to say yes and then figure out how to do it later. Now, I think Richard Branson kind of coined this first. He said, he always say, and I'm paraphrasing, but he always says yes to work or to a project, and then figures out later how to do it. So, I think women are particularly kind of bad with this. We don't necessarily do that. But in actual fact, you need to say yes first and then figure out. Now, of course, there are some exceptions, like if to do so would be dangerous, would put someone's life at risk, or like someone's business at risk, then obviously I don't recommend that. This is something like, if there's a client and they want you working on a piece of software or a platform that you haven't really used before, but it's similar to something you've learned or used before, you say yes, then you go away, you research it, you look at YouTube and you learn how the hell to use that that software. So that's an example of that. So saying yes and then figuring it out, and the confidence comes as you figure it out. You get more confident in your own abilities. And then it's trust, back to trust. So trusting the universe, trusting that everything will unfold. And I think we all go in and out of it. You know, only yesterday I wasn't feeling so confident, and one of my entrepreneur buddies, one of my soul sisters, said to me, she said, "You just trust, Julie, just get back into trust." And I was like, yeah, she's right. And so, you know, developing trust is like a muscle, and we have to cultivate that again. So we can do this through spiritual practices, sitting down in the morning, having meditation, communing with the universe. Look at how far you've already come in your business. So even if you haven't got your first client yet, have you got your website? Have you got your presence up? Have you had some inquiries? Have you been putting things out there? You know, so wherever you are, you can look back and you can see how far you've come. I love doing this. It's like, if ever I'm beating myself up or I'm feeling that urgency, like it's not happening quick enough, I can look back and I can see how far have I come, and it feels good, right? And I think that any of us can do that anytime, no matter where we are in our business, because we have at least started the journey for most of us. And if you haven't, get started right now. Okay, so if you need any more help around this, I do offer coaching. Go over to dobusinesslikeawoman.com, have a look at my business mentoring package there. You can get on a call with me. There's no pressure. It's not a high pressured sales call. I don't do those. It's just connecting to see if it would be a fit for us both to work together. Also, get on my email list, because I email about stuff like this quite a lot. If you are having difficulty getting clients, I have a free guide, the Do Business Like a Woman guide to getting clients. Go over to my website. On the homepage, you can click a button and you can get that, sign up and get that guide for free. And that will help you get your first clients. I share all my top client getting strategies in there that have worked for me and my clients. So lovelies, hope that was useful for you. I will see you again tomorrow. Can't remember what tomorrow's topic is, but hang out in the group, Do Business Like a Woman Facebook group, and I will post about it there. And I'll see you tomorrow. Lots of love.